Santa is a Christmas icon. He's been portrayed with thoughtfulness, kindness, and the true spirit of Christmas in many holiday classics. But this video isn't about those portrayals. Instead, we're going to look at 3 Santa Claus movies that might have meant well, or might not have, but came up a little short on the jolly and were more cheesy, creepy, or downright crazy. Plus, we have a bonus movie that is so bad, it's actually good. I'm Captain Kyle, and I'm bringing you down that chimney to show you 3 Santa Claus movies that didn't do St. Nick any favors. 1959, Santa Claus! Entitled just Santa Claus, but it's frequently referred to as Santa Claus versus the Devil, this wannabe holiday classic is filled with stereotypes, bad acting, and some of the weirdest devices Santa makes use of. First of all, it turns out Santa's workshop is not at the North Pole, but in a floating space castle high above it. There, Santa plays a weird keyboard as he supervises a bunch of dead-eyed children from all over the world. Except for the South American bunch, because they actually seemed into it. I guess being in space avoids child labor laws, and apparently making toys consists of singing children's songs from one's country of origin while wearing costumes to show where you're from. We're given a long tour of all of these children and get to see them, except for the Brits for some reason. The American kids, of course, are wearing cowboy and cowgirl outfits, because America. But let's talk about the devil. His name is Pitch, and he's sent by Lucifer to make all the children on Earth do bad things, or he's going to be forced to eat chocolate ice cream, which is apparently a form of torture to the denizens of Hades. Pitch is really not going to reach his goal, though, using a strategy of meeting each child individually. He manages to get 3 bad boys throw rocks at an animatronic Santa, which Santa somehow feels. But he's concentrating his efforts on Lupita, a poor girl who just wants a doll. Any doll. He tries to get her to shoplift, he invades her dreams, and, he really spends a lot of time with this one kid. Santa, in the meantime, watches and hears all from his creepy observatory aided by monotone children. His devices include a pair of lips in a frame, an antenna with a human ear on it, and a stalk with an eye at the end, complete with lashes. With these devices and more, he can see everything that happens on the earth below, and even can watch the dreams of children. He watches Lupita, and also this little rich kid who only wants the love of his parents, Bruce Wayne. After observing all the shenanigans that Pitch is getting up to, Santa has to make his rounds until he gets a sleep powder and a magic flower from his trusted assistant, Merlin, the wizard. Yup. Santa also has a magic key that opens any door on Earth, which, could be kind of handy. Now, Pitch tries to stop Santa from delivering toys, but every time he fails. The 3 bad boys want to kidnap Santa, but they end up with coal, of course, instead. The rich kid is reunited with his parents, who went out to dinner without him. What a tragedy. And Lupita, who wished for 2 dolls so she could give one to baby Jesus, gets only 1 doll from Santa, but, I guess Jesus has his. But get this, Pitch dumps Santa's sleep powder, and, the old guy drops his flower, because, I guess he's pretty old. So, he gets chased by a dog and treed, and he can't get away. Pitch wakes up the dog owners and calls in a fire at that location so people will actually see Santa Claus. Because if people see Santa, they'll be evil? Yeah, I don't get it. But Pitch does get the fire hose, and Merlin helps Santa escape, so all's well that ends well. Except for the therapy bills after watching this. So not to be outdone, in 1964, we got a sci-fi spin with Santa Claus Conquers the Martians. Now, we've seen a lot of invasions by Martians in sci-fi stories, but in this case, it was a surgical strike. They wanted Santa Claus for themselves. And they even kidnap a couple kids to make sure they get the right one and not some mall Santa. Of course, when they get to Mars, Santa charms the children of Mars with his maniacal laughter, and he readily agrees to create a toy factory on the red planet. But there is danger, as one particular Martian, Voldar, sabotages the toy factory. He doesn't think Santa should be on Mars, and decides to end this threat permanently, like with murder, after a good kidnapping. Though a different Martian named Dropo, who is totally into the Christmas spirit, he ends up getting kidnapped instead, because, he likes to dress as Santa Claus. But by the time Voldar realizes his mistake, it's kind of too late because he's no match for the real Santa and the Martian legal system, which does punish Voldar for kidnapping Dropo, but doesn't seem to worry about the children and Santa being kidnapped. However, since Dropo acts like Santa, Santa dubs him the Martian Santa Claus, which allows the Earth Santa and the children to be returned to Earth. This movie probably set back relations between Earth and Mars centuries. No wonder they invaded again. But, you can accept those odd team-up Santa Claus and the Devil, Santa Claus and Martians, and in 1972, there was Santa and the Ice Cream Bunny. And this Santa tale, jolly old Saint Nick naps more than any other film prior or since. But let me explain, though you're going to be sorry that I did. The elves up the North Pole are making toys while Santa's away somewhere. The elves are children, which again shows the lack of regard Santa has for child labor laws. But the elves notice the reindeer are back, but Santa's not. Turns out Santa crashed into a beach in Florida and is stuck in the sand. Whoa, I wouldn't want to be stuck in the sand in Florida. And the reindeer abandoned him, which, because it was Florida, and they went back home. Which either speaks to the reindeer having absolutely no loyalty at all, or that Santa treats his reindeer like shit, and, they were happy to leave him. His sleigh is stuck in the sand and he sings about his trouble to no one. And then he takes a nap. But Santa's sleep is special because he can summon children to his aid while he slumbers telepathically. Kinda like Aquaman and Fish, but amazingly lamer. The kids bring a bunch of animals to help out, but they can't do the trick. But wait, this movie has a movie in it. When the kids are losing hope, Santa encourages them by telling them the tale of Thumbelina. And the entire movie of Thumbelina is shown. Right. After that, the kids leave and Santa takes another nap. But then, an antique fire engine driven by an ice cream-obsessed bunny shows up to drive Santa back to the North Pole. So, after he leaves, the kids are kind of wondering, what's Santa going to do without his sleigh? But just then, it magically disappears, apparently teleporting back to the North Pole to wait for Santa. Why it couldn't do that with Santa on it is a mystery. Are there weight limits? All three of these movies are amazingly bad, though some consider a couple of them to be cult classics. I definitely don't recommend them for casual viewing. I had to watch them and I think I need lots of therapy. However, if you must dive in, check out the Mystery Science Theater 3000 versions of the first two, or the Rifftrax of Santa and the Ice Cream Bunny to help preserve a little bit of your sanity. But I promised a bonus movie, and I shall, like Santa himself, deliver. This one is so bad, it's almost good. It's called Santa with Muscles. This 1996 gem is horrible and totally over the top, which is what you would expect from a movie starring Hulk Hogan. He plays a self-centered rich guy named Blake Thorne, who sells bodybuilding supplements and plays weird games with his staff. The people, not his staff. He also has no respect for the law and ends up trying to hide from them in a mall after all kinds of traffic violations. While he's there, he throws on the Santa suit to escape from the cops. But then he has to hide in a garbage chute, he falls, hits his head, and of course, loses his memory. A mall elf convinces him that he's actually Santa Claus. So while he's doing his Santa duties, he notices some trouble and ends up foiling a robbery as the mighty Kris Kringle. And then he decides he needs to help an orphanage that's been targeted by yet another heartless rich guy named Ebner Frost. Now, Frost has these weird scientists working for him that basically have gadgets that give them almost superpowers, though some of them kind of stink. Now, Blake, as Santa, fights them off, but he wonders why they want the orphanage so badly. They discover under the orphanage are special quartz crystals that have electrical charges, which are apparently extremely valuable. Oh, and a plot twist. Both Blake and the evil Frost were orphans who grew up in that orphanage. Who says you can't go home again? Of course, Santa saves the day, even after he regains his memory, because his time as Santa made him become a better person. But the orphanage ends up being destroyed along with all the crystals. But, Frost and his scientists are going to jail, so Blake decides that Frost's huge home compound. Blake decides that's going to be the new orphanage, which is, of course, totally legal. Right? Right? It is over the top. It's badly written and acted, but I couldn't stop watching. It's also the film debut of Mila Kunis. The movie was a box office bomb, and it's been blasted by critics and been rated below Santa Claus Conquers the Martians, and even below the Star Wars Holiday Special. But I found it fun because I went in expecting it to be a mess, which it was, but I was actually entertained. Probably because I wasn't expecting to be. So, which Santa movie do you think is the worst? There are a ton of them, so let us know your picks in the comments below. And while you're mulling that over, check out our list of sci-fi animated features you may not have known even existed. We'll see you there. Ho ho ho, have fun, and follow your fandom.